Alright, so about a week ago I made a trade tier list for merge tactics, and today I want to do a card tier list for merge tactics. So let's just jump straight into it. Starting off with Archer, I'm gonna put that in A tier. I just think like it's a well-balanced troop, good damage, good health, but like for a ranged troops, and obviously it can do damage long range. Um, Obviously, doing this tier list, I don't want to focus too much on synergies. Obviously, I'm gonna include them because it's a part of the character and it helps them out, but I don't want to say like Archer is an S tier just because it fits into clan synergy. That I don't see really a point in that because that would basically be ranking traits again. Then we have Archer Queen. Well, that is S tier indeed, with clan synergy or without it. Obviously, the clan synergy makes it even worse, but Archer Queen easily the best troop in the game right now. I don't have that much problem with 1 or 2 star, but as 3 star, it basically two shots a bomber or a goblin. That's insane to me. Of course, there's a difference between a 5 elixir and 2 elixir troop, but that's still like a crazy damage to me. And yeah, so while I go through this, for example, when you have S tier units like this, I'll just tell you how I think they're like the way they should nerf the unit or buff it in case it's like really low. Anyway, then we have the bandit. The bandit is kind of in a weird spot in my opinion because the damage and health is not that good, but when she starts dashing, it's super strong. And the way I would rework her as well as the Golden Knight is just to buff their base stats, health, hit speed, or damage, and then nerf the ability. Because the damage and stun for both of them is kind of crazy. But in current state, like especially when you get the bandit to 3 stars, I would say it's an S tier troop. Especially since it fits well with Avengers and Clan, so it's used quite a lot. So I would say in current meta definitely an S tier. Then we have Barbarian, another clan troop, and obviously it's really strong and commonly used because of the clan synergy, but I wouldn't say it's like really strong. I wouldn't say the Barbarian is as strong as Archer. I believe Archer can get you more value, and there's also alternative options for Barbarian like the Knight or Spear Goblin. So I'll put that in B. I think it's fairly balanced. I don't really have a problem with Barbarian. I think that's like a sweet spot. Not too strong, not too weak. Then we have the Bomber. Bomber, in my opinion, like it's a little bit a weird situation because obviously it's really strong with the thrower synergy, but and also it fits in undead. So he probably has like one of the best synergy combos, besides like Archer Queen who has Avengers and Clan. But like as a troop by himself, he's not that strong actually. I would say he's one of the weakest two elixir troops, which makes him one of the weakest troops in the entire game. It can help you because of the splash damage, but I'm gonna put that in C tier. I don't see him being on the same level as Barbarian. And also, I don't really think any unit in Merge Tactics right now is so bad that I would say it's a D tier. So I think C tier is gonna be probably the lowest of them all. Like no unit is that trash that you will just straight up say I'm not using that because I'm in a disadvantage because of using the troop. Then we have the Executioner. Executioner is super good, especially when you're going up against like stuff like Rangers, because obviously doing splash damage and going to the backline at 3 stars when he has infinite range, it can give you a lot of value. Versus Clan obviously as well. But there's one thing I don't understand. When you put Executioner and he starts shooting, like let's say you get a lineup through Valkyrie onto the Archer Queen, and the Executioner takes out half of the Archer Queen's health, and then she goes invisible. Why in that situation he doesn't deal damage to her? Like she at that point Archer Queen is immune, and I don't know why because as far as I know her ability is to be invisible, not to be immune. Um, so that's kind of confusing to me. But I think Executioner is a strong troop, especially in thrower synergy. Probably better than Archer to be honest. So yeah, A tier definitely. Then we have the Stabby Goblin. Goblins, I said that multiple times. I don't think the goblins will ever be really strong simply because their synergy is so strong that if they buff them too much, then they'll just everyone will be using the goblins because of the synergy. And I do think also that Stabby Goblin is the worst of the goblins, only used really in the assassins synergy, which is not that common anymore, although it does work with rangers. But I'm gonna put that in C tier as well. Also, guys, um, if your favorite animal, like a pet animal, is dog, I'm calling you out, and you have to subscribe. That's that's it for today. Like if dog is your favorite animal, pet animal, you have to subscribe. Moving on to Dart Goblin. Dart Goblin, what should we do with Dart Goblin? Obviously, like Rangers is still common. It's crazy to me how Rangers have fallen off. Like when I was at like around 2000 stars, Rangers were the only synergy people were going for. Now it's kind of like nothing. I rarely ever see Rangers played, but I do think Dark Goblin is still pretty strong. Obviously fits in in the Goblin synergy as well. But here's the thing with Dark Goblin. I don't see that. I think Dark Goblin is pretty useless unless you have the Ranger synergy. But when you have the Ranger synergy, he's able to start shooting so fast that he can solo out entire lineups. But I wouldn't say he's as bad as Bomber or Stabby Goblin. So um, yeah, I think maybe like obviously Rangers would need a nerf because I think the synergy is still very strong. The problem of why it's not used as much is simply because other synergies are better, and like the troops in the synergy are better. But Dart going by himself might could use a slight buff in my opinion. Then we have the Goblin Machine. All right, this might be a little bit of a hot take for some people who don't really understand the meta that much. Obviously, me being kind of on like the highest level of the game mode, I'm familiar with what people are really playing most often, and usually I'm the guy playing the Goblin Machine, and doing so, I would say it's an S tier troop. The reason why is at 3 stars, this troop can solo stun entire backline like perma-stun, so they can't do anything. If you're playing against rangers, the only thing you need is a goblin machine and it's GG's for them. They can't do anything. Obviously against clan it's a little bit complicated because the Archqueen goes invisible and deals so much damage, but still, even in that matchup, if you don't have a 3-star goblin machine, you're kind of cooked. So yeah, I wouldn't say that is as strong as Harlequin, but I would put in S tier definitely. And same goes for Golden Knight. The Golden Knight, as I said, similar to the Bandit, he's not as strong by himself, but he is really strong if he manages to get the ability off. Wait, no, actually, I'm putting him in A tier. Here's the reason why. Bandit can get her ability off, um, like if you try to block it or not. The only way to prevent that is to stun her. With Golden Knight, you can block him using his ability with placing a tanky troop in front of him. For example, if I'm playing against Golden Knight, I want to put my giant skeleton, because I'm usually playing the thrower strat with undead and stuff. I want to put my giant skeleton the way that basically as many units as possible lock onto him and then place a P.E.K.K.A down right in front of the Golden Knight. The P.E.K.K.A is gonna have so much HP that the Golden Knight is not gonna be able to ever get his ability off. And if he doesn't do that, he's a weak character, and that's why I said both him and Bandit could use a rework to kind of nerf the abilities and buff their base stats. Alright, then we have the Knight. Knight doesn't really have like very useful synergies. Um, so it's usually just like a filling troop at the start, especially with a lot of HP. You can tank maybe some 3 elixir units with him just because he's so tanky. But I would say he's very well balanced, especially after the the first set of balance changes where he got the damage nerf. Now, obviously, his only role is to have a lot of HP and tank, and he does the job for that. Like, I feel like whenever I take the knight, he does what I want him to do. He doesn't seem too weak. he doesn't seem like very strong either. So yeah, I think he's in a fair spot. They had the Mega Knight. Mega Knight was like in a little bit of a weird position before he got the buff in the first set of balance changes, because the situation was that basically P.E.K.K.A was stronger than him, and P.E.K.K.A is one elixir less than Mega Knight. So that was a really weird situation where you had like a three elixir troop that kind of like is meant to do a similar job to Mega Knight, that's way better than the Mega Knight. But yeah, now after the damage buff, I feel like he's in a really solid spot. Fits well in the clan synergy, so you face it a lot of the times. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna put it here, and I think P.E.K.K.A is in a similar strength position. Obviously, didn't need any buffs or nerfs, but I think it's a strong unit, and in honestly in a decent spot. Then we have the Prince. Honestly, like Prince. I don't know. I don't really see much Prince, honestly. I feel like he's pretty weak. Um, or sometimes I even feel like I'm in a disadvantage playing him. Um, it's really hard to utilize him sometimes, and even the synergies he has are not that great. Obviously, like Brawler is a synergy that almost nobody uses, or at least not intentionally. Like sometimes you're gonna do combos where you get the synergy out of it. Um, but I would say Princess often doesn't get the value that you would want from a three elixir troop. Like you have as a three elixir troop, you have Valkyrie, you have Giant Skeleton, you have the pack, you have the Executioner. All of these are better than Prince. So yeah, I would put him high C or maybe low B. I don't know. I'm gonna leave him here for now, and I might change my mind later. I'll see. Then I had the Princess. Princess. The thing about Princess is I really like how she can consistently damage the backline, which like there's not many troops that can do so. Obviously, you can say like the Golden Knight and Bandit can do that as well, but it's not as reliable because sometimes they'll be dashing just across the front line if they have like less HP. But then you only have like Executioner and Archer Queen, which obviously again aren't really like as consistent in doing this. So because of that, sometimes it's like really helpful to have her, and with the Ranger synergy, she can be really strong. So I'm gonna put that in A as well. I think that's a fair spot for her. Like I don't see her needing a nerf or anything. Um, besides like the Ranger synergy, but obviously that's not really on her. Then we have the Royal Ghost. Royal Ghost is again another card that's in kind of a weird spot because by him like he has huge potential, but hard to get to that point. Similar with like with Bandit and Golden Knight. Um, he has the potential to 1v5 entire lineup if you have him upgraded to 3 stars. But again, you can also just like it, he can also be just pretty useless in some matchups, especially with some stuns or like Valkyrie doing damage to him or Executioner getting a lineup. So I wouldn't say he's that strong, but obviously just for his potential, I have to put him in a similar spot as Golden Knight. I think him and Golden Knight are in a very similar spot. So yeah, it's kind of like a small rework to how both of them work would help them out probably. Then we have the Skeleton King, and Skeleton King. The thing about Skeleton King, he's a decent character, fits well in undead, and it has huge damage potential, especially like one of the rare units in this game that can do splash damage. But the problem with him is that he's the weakest of the champions, in my opinion. In my opinion, even Golden Knight, even though it's hard to get those dashes out of him, I think the Golden Knight is still like in a better spot than Golden Knight. I mean, than a Skeleton King. Um, is the difference a lot? I wouldn't say so. I just think like comparing five elixir troops, obviously the Archer Queen is way more broken than anything else. Um, but yeah, putting that in bottom A tier should have maybe be like like this is a five. This is a five elixir troop, so obviously it requires a ton of investment into getting this troop down on the board. Um, but it usually does get the job done. So I'm gonna leave it there for now. Um, Spear Goblin. I'm gonna put that in B. Fairly balanced. I just think it's better than the Stabby Goblin, so I'm gonna put it there. Then we have the Valkyrie. Valkyrie, in my opinion, I would describe her similar to Barbarian. Like 3 elixir, obviously one elixir more gets you a little bit more value, but it just gets the job done. It's not nothing crazy. Obviously strong because of the clan synergy, but by herself she's nothing special in my opinion. And then we have the giant skeleton. Giant skeleton, I would put him in S tier if it wasn't for one thing. Giant Skeleton has a big problem, and that's the fact that he's a part of the brawler synergy. And that to me has to be like that's a question to me, like whose idea was that? Because if you think about it, Giant Skeleton, the whole point of playing him is to die as fast as possible so the bomb can go off. Like he doesn't do any damage, so having him like have a ton of HP doesn't make any sense either. And in a brawler synergy, the buff that you get from like having 4 of 4 brawlers is that he gets a bonus 80% of HP. What idea was that? I don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, still very strong. Like the value you get of the bomb going off is kind of crazy. Not gonna lie. So yeah, I think this is kind of like my final list. I don't know. Let me think. Think about it, like Archer kind of looks like weird to me. That's what I would maybe would put that in B tier, but that would kind of mean like I'm just saying that 2 elixir troops are worse, which obviously they aren't. I don't know. Maybe I'll put Princess down actually. I think she might be in a similar spot than Dart Goblin. Not gonna lie. Like obviously it's good to have that ability um to to hit the backline, but she's just too slow shooting without the ranger synergy. I don't think she's that good without the synergy. So yeah, I think this might be the finalist. I think this might be the finalist. Obviously, this is not in like the exact order of how the troops are supposed to go, but kind of gives you the idea how I think the meta is right now. Um, Obviously, you can judge the meta just by the synergies that are popular. But this is gonna be it for today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.